I bet going by my last video you thought I didn't like Oblivion, didn't you? I bet you thought, oh, this guy's an arsehole. He really likes Skyrim and he doesn't like the classic Oblivion. Well, you'd be wrong, because I love Oblivion. It was in fact my first Elder Scrolls game, and I love it. It's a great game. I think Skyrim's better, but this is the 10 reasons why I think Oblivion is better than Skyrim. Let's do this. Number 1. Right, I'm going to get the big one out of the way right now, okay? You can wear 2 rings in Oblivion, and you can only wear 1 in Skyrim. What's that all about? Why can't you wear 10? Why can't you be the Mandarin up in this shit? Have, like, 1 ring that makes you immune to fucking all magic. 1 ring that makes you immune to physical damage. 1 ring that makes anyone that hit you fucking drop down dead and turn into a toad upside down. Why can't you wear 10 rings? Regardless, the fact of the matter is, you can wear 2 rings in Oblivion and only 1 ring in Skyrim, and the more enchanted items you can wear, the better. So, yeah, there we go. Point to Oblivion. Number 2. Oblivion Gates. Look, a lot of people are like, oh, I prefer dragons to Oblivion Gates, or, oh, Oblivion Gates are much more interesting than a boring old dragon attack. I think they're... Dragons are better, right? There we go, I said it. It's more fun fighting the dragon, but the Oblivion Gates are cool because you actually get to go into the realm of Oblivion, Mehrunes Dagon's domain, and you go in there, and it's basically hell. You're like, what the fuck, you know? And you're trying to find the Sigil Stone. You can use the Sigil Stones to enchant weapons and armor, so they're always worth getting. So yeah, Oblivion Gates, although not quite as cool as dragons, Skyrim doesn't have Oblivion Gates. It doesn't have, portals that take you to other realms. I mean, I guess it does, but not so frequently and so obviously as Oblivion Gates. Number 3, Ayleid Ruins. I really missed the Ayleid Ruins when I was playing Skyrim. You know, going into dungeons is cool, and mines is cool, and you get Dwemer Ruins, and look, Dwemer Ruins, fuck off, they're not fun. It's not that they're anti-fun or anything, it's just that you're going through them, and it's just like everything's all steampunk, and it's like, oh no, there's like a little spider coming at me, whatever. But the Ayleid Ruins were cool, because they were like deep dark caves, except clearly modelled and created by people, or at least beings, rather than a cave, which is usually just like a natural formation. There was usually Welkin stone at the end of it, and that gave you, I can't remember what it did, because it's been so long since I played the game, but Welkin stones were really good for doing something, and there were other stones that you could, like Vala stones or something. Trust me, Ayleid Ruins, they're good, and I missed them. Number 4, the variety of landscapes. It cannot be overstated how, even though the graphics are better on Skyrim, Oblivion had a certain charm and a certain beauty to it that Skyrim doesn't have. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful landscapes in Skyrim, but 90%, well, maybe not 90%, it's a bit harsh. 75% of where you go in Skyrim is like a frozen wasteland or just a really cold wasteland. In Oblivion, because, I mean, it's kind of designed this way from the ground up, because it's set in Cyrodiil, which is the center of Tamriel, so you've got all the other regions in every direction. So if you go north, which is where Skyrim is, you'll start to get to some snowy mountains. If you go south, where Valenwood is, you'll start to get to, you know, dense, thick forests and wooded areas. And if you go, I don't fucking know, west, you get the golden coasts of Hammerfell or whatever. So you basically get a wide variety of landscapes rather than just the frozen wasteland of Skyrim. So Oblivion wins this point. Number 5, my good buddy Thorinir. Anyone that's been to the Imperial City knows that Thorinir is the guy that sells stuff at the general store. And there's also a quest related to him. So you go and do the quest and you find out that dodgy stuff's happening, and he seems genuinely surprised, or not really surprised. It doesn't matter. He's just awesome. Every time I speak to him, he's like, what kind of deal can I make for you today? And I'm like, a fine one, my good sir. I have all this shit I would like to sell you, and you can give me some money for it. And he goes, excellent. And we had a great relationship. I would turn up with all the shit I didn't need, and he would buy it off me at a high price. So I referred to him as my good buddy Thorinir. And Skyrim does have my good buddy Bellathor, but yeah, Bellathor's got a fucking attitude on him, and I do like him, but he's not as friendly and welcoming as Thorinir, my good buddy Thorinir. So Oblivion wins that point. Number 6, the Shivering Isles. Simply one of the best expansions to any game I've ever played. It was DLC done right. It took you to a new location. It brought you new weapons, new armor, new quests, new magic, new fucking everything. You could make new weapons and armor. There was just The whole island was split into two sides. You got Mania and Dementia, each with their own vibrant flavors of flora and fauna, and enemies and monsters. And the quests there were interesting. The people there were just insane, but in a good way. And Sheogorath, mwah, he's just like a great character. And while he was in Skyrim, only briefly, I'm glad it was the same voice actor, but he was in Skyrim, and that was a very good quest, but only briefly. In the Shivering Isles, you learn a lot about Sheogorath, stuff that happens to him, and this is a spoiler, but whatever, the game's been out for like fucking 10 years. You end up becoming the new god of madness by the end of it, and it doesn't really change how the game plays, but it's just cool to know that canonically that's what happens, so that's pretty cool. Shivering Isles, A+. Number 7. Spellcrafting. Skyrim doesn't have spellcrafting. Point goes to Oblivion. Number 8. Better guilds. I'm really disappointed with the guilds in Skyrim. They're just... they're good, they're just too short. There's not enough to do in them. Like, take the companions, for example. You turn up there as a fresh, new whelp, and you start doing a couple of odd jobs for people, and then like 2 days later, you're fucking running the place. You know, the old man died, and you're like, hey, I guess I'm in charge now. Screw all these people that have been here way longer, years longer than I have. Screw them. I've just turned up. 2 days later, I'm running the joint. Same with the Mages Guild. You turn up, you do a little bit of a quest, which was a very sort of interesting series of quests, but it was too short. Again, you sort of turn up, and then less than a week later, you're the archmage of the whole fucking college, and it's just, it felt so weird and out of place. The only guild in Skyrim that I would say had a good length was the Thieves Guild, and I mean, most of that was just sort of like padding, but it had a good length, and it was very good. I think that's the best of the guilds in Skyrim. But in Oblivion, the guilds were so awesome. I mean, the Mages Guild, for example, you want to get into the Arcane University. Well, you're going to have to go and fucking prove yourself at all the Mages Guilds all around Cyrodiil. And that's no small feat for someone who's new to that game. You're just going around, proving to people, solving... Like, it's not just a case of go to this cave and kill this monster and retrieve this artifact. Some of them are genius. Like, they're almost mysteries. Like, you have to find out where these students have been disappearing to, that our teacher has been sending them off into this well with this ring that weighs them down so they can't fucking, so they can't escape and all that business. So that's pretty cool. The guilds, I think, were just much better in Oblivion, so point goes to Oblivion. Number 9. The final battle. My opinion on this might be a bit slanted because I broke the game when I finished the main quest of Skyrim, but you basically go to Sovngarde and you fight Alduin and you get these 3 other Dragonborns with you. The problem is that about a week or so before I got to that point, I had discovered this method whereby you could enchant and upgrade your weapons and armor so fucking much by exploiting a game mechanic. I literally killed the final boss in 3 hits, and it was about as anticlimactic as it could have been, and that might colour my opinion of the final battle of that fight. But the final battle of Oblivion, wow, you don't often get to see an actual Dremora Lord. I mean, I'm thinking in Skyrim you get to see Hermaeus Mora in the Dragonborn DLC, but in this final battle, you keep hearing people talking about Mehrunes Dagon. You know, the Mythic Dawn are trying to bring him back. He's the god of chaos and unrest and other such bollocks. And you think, wow, he's basically like an angry devil. This is going to be cool. And the point of the Oblivion Gates is they're trying to enable him to come into our realm. And then they eventually do it. And you're there in the Imperial City that you've been to hundreds of times before, but this time the skies are red, and there's literally like 100-foot giant red demon storming through the Imperial City. There's demons everywhere, there's people fleeing in terror, and all the while you are on a mission with Martin to get him to the center of town so he can sacrifice himself and sort of allow his body to be consumed by the god Akatosh, who then turns into a giant fiery dragon and ends Mehrunes Dagon, because that's the only way to end him, and thus ends the lineage of the Septim dynasty. It's so fucking epic, and Skyrim just couldn't top it, in my opinion. The final battle was just so good. So, point goes to Oblivion. Number 10. Joffrey. No, not that cunt Joffrey. This guy Joffrey. I've always liked Joffrey. He's got that the warm, soothing, dulcet tones of someone who's in charge, but is also relaxed. Like, he's like, I'm Brother Joffrey. What do you want? So you tell him what you want, and he's like, how did you get the Amulet of Kings? And you're like, he gave it to me. And he's like, okay, well, you better explain yourself. And you explain yourself, and he goes, oh yes, this is indeed unprecedented, and it is very good news. We need to send you over here to do this. And you go and do a job with him, and then you find out he's the Grand Master of the Blades. And this is before the Blades were like a ragtag bunch of 2 people in Skyrim. This is when the Blades were still a hardcore organization, the guards of the Septim Dynasty. And you could get a full set of Blades armor and all of this business. It was so cool, and none of it would have been possible without Joffrey. The first time I rode a horse in any Elder Scrolls game, I was riding with Joffrey and Martin from Waynham Priory up to Bruma, because get this, I didn't know fast travel was a thing in that game, so I didn't know you could just go, oh, I'm going to fast travel from here to Bruma. I got on my horse, and I fucking ran there with him, and every time there was a wolf that came along, I had to get off my horse and protect Joffrey and Martin, and kill the wolf and get back on the horse. Good memories of Joffrey. And the number one thing why Joffrey is so awesome is because without him, we wouldn't have the Joffrey Jam, which is a genius song that someone made using clips of Joffrey and Boris. And it's just genius. After this fucking video, go look at it. Type in Oblivion Joffrey Jam and just type it in. I've had it on my phone for a couple of years. It's Joffrey. Need I say more? So there we go. Throw that card on the floor. My case has been rested many times. I think overall, all things considered, Skyrim is my favourite game of all time. Okay, yeah, there, I said it. But this just goes to show that I just threw that card on the floor and it went underneath that fucking thing. It's going to be a mission to get. Oh well. This just goes to show that, look, it's okay to say one game is better than the other, but they all have their pros and cons. I think, personally, I think Skyrim is a better game. But I know there's a lot of people that disagree. I know that a lot of the things I like about Skyrim are exactly the things people dislike about it, and vice versa for Oblivion. The bottom line is, we all just need to accept the fact that there's no war going on between these two games. The only war is in your heads. You're like, oh, you like that game better than this game, therefore I hate you. No, don't be like that. Hopefully this video and the previous one, which if you haven't seen it, what are you doing? It's 10 reasons why Skyrim is better than Oblivion. Those two videos together just basically show you that any game can be good to the right person. It just goes to show you that any game is someone's favourite. You may not like it, doesn't mean no one else, I don't know how to end this video. So that's it. I'm ending the video like this. Bye!